my friends, it is I, Alphinius Goo. Happy Saturday. I hope you all are having a wonderful day so far. Those of you on the East Coast, you've been up for a while. Those of you on the West Coast, I'm impressed. 8 o'clock, good for you. Or maybe it's 9 o'clock. I don't really know. It was daylight savings time, so I'm all forgotten. Anyway, say hello, Camera Mendy.
Hello.
Very nice, very nice.
I'm in a great mood this morning.
Yeah, I know, because there was no technical difficulties.
I hope so. As long as everyone can hear us, as long as the video is coming through.
Well, check the stream. Can people hear us? Can you hear us, my friends? Hello.
Ecstatic this morning. We have a great tour for you guys.
Yes, it's the secret lore of Blackrot Bog. So all of you who are running the Red Star Rising, there's some little bonuses that kind of come from some of my home campaign stuff that I'm going to bring in here today, as well as kind of talk about some of the stuff that we talked about the last, so that folks get caught up. So it'll be a good tour. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And then, so it's Kickstarter update and the tour.
And then I'm going to do the reading of the encyclopedia. We're going to do that, and then we're going to talk about the contributors guild thing, and then we also have a special stream that our friends the Misfits are doing, right, Camera Mendy?
Absolutely. Actually, do you want to start with their commercial?
Whatever you would like, my friend.
Let's go ahead and start with their commercial. Okay, so our friends at Tabletop Misfits are doing a charity stream on Wednesday, and we have an ad that our friend Corey put together.
Yes.
So we're going to go ahead and play that for you guys.
Here you go.
Join us for a Tabletop Misfits special charity event. Corey from Chrysalis Creative Endeavors will don his character Locobut Macabre, that's me, and run the Sword of the Yahweh, a one-shot adventure fundraiser to support Game to Grow. Game to Grow is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the use of games for therapeutic, educational, and community growth. Join us Wednesday, November 17th at 7 o'clock Mountain, 9 o'clock Eastern for this special event on Twitch TV, Tabletop_Misfits. There will be dozens of digital prizes to unlock as we raise more funds, including digital versions of your favorite board games, as well as a strangely gooey holiday, a digital adventure by Gooey Cube.
I can definitely say that Game to Grow is an awesome organization to support.
Yes, no, we have supported them in the past, and if you don't know about them, so there's been some preliminaries. I can't say it's very extensive research, but there's been some research that's been done with regard to sort of how role playing can help kids who are on the spectrum to be more social, and it's really, really wonderful. And Game to Grow is sort of committed to helping that happen and bring it around. And so if you have a chance to check them out. And then we, of course, have supported them in the past, and we will continue to do so in the future. In fact, we will be doing that as part of our Genghis Khan live stream when we do the Great Gooey Game Show again in February. Right, Camera Mendy?
Absolutely.
So anyway, James and Corey and all the rest of you all, Pamela, and the rest of you all that are on that wonderful Misfit stream, we appreciate you. Matt, I know you're there too, and we appreciate you all doing this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and old Alphinius is going to try to tune in there and maybe even make a little donation. We'll see what happens about that. What about you, Camera Mendy?
I absolutely will be donating to Game to Grow, and I think that we can all just attest to how this game has helped. Even if you're not on the spectrum, it helps you in so many ways. It helps you think outside the box. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's an awesome organization. And absolutely, I will be donating and be joining the stream.
Marvelous.
Watching the stream.
All right, what's next on the plate?
Okay, I want to show Heather had posted this awesome photo.
Heather took chapter 4, right? This is
yes. And I'm a huge proponent of binders. Last week we saw my Gooey rewards and my special item cards in a nicely organized binder. I think it is awesome way to organize yourself if you're running the campaign or if you are playing in the campaign. Get those page protectors, get a nice binder. It'll help you out so much.
Yeah, no, it's a good move. And the other thing is that it really, if you even do, I like to do separate binders, right? So I'll have the handouts all in one and then special item cards and those kinds of things in others. And it just really, it does help protect your materials, but it also makes it a lot easier for you. You can pull them out with a sheet protector on. You don't have to worry about them getting thrashed. You just, hand them out there. People can look at them. It's marvelous. Anyway.
Absolutely.
Well done, Heather.
Next up, we have something that you posted.
I did. Yes.
Are very cool looking. Is this a limited edition?
So this is the limited edition deck of Perilous Fortuity, and this was the final press proof before they start printing. And so we will do 500 of these. That will be the total number that will ever be done of the deck of Perilous Fortuity in the antiqued version. And quite a number of you in the Kickstarter are getting one of these decks for free, which is marvelous. I hope you enjoy them immeasurably. And we are going to have some left. And we're kind of talking about what we want to do with those. Some people have reached out and said, I was in the Kickstarter, I didn't get a chance to get one, blah, blah, blah. And then some other people have said, I'd really like to get one. So we're going to think about that. But it'll be limited supply for sure, all right? But they are beautiful. And then, Camera Mandy, did you do the black ones too, or just this one?
Oh, I'm sorry, I just did this one.
That's okay.
But I can find them. I can actually find them really quickly.
Oh, she can find them quickly. Well, we can let her look at that while we do, and I'll just explain kind of what's going on with this printing process. So all of these cards now have gone out, and there's a 72 card deck that will be in the little boxes that it gets put into. And of course, you can see the box proof right there sticking out right in the front, right? So get an idea of how the box looks. And each one of the cards, right, has the various suits, right? The flames and the stones and the waves and the winds, right? Which is the 4 suits of the deck of Perilous Fortuity. And then, of course, the 5 face cards, which are the dragons, which are the highest card in the deck, right? The crowns, right? The wizards, the knights, and the rogues. So we actually, in the deck of Perilous Fortuity, have 5 face cards. There are also 4 jesters that are suited, which is an interesting thing as well. And we have a place on our website that we are beginning to put up rules for games. And Casey came up with a marvelous game called Conundrums. And Corey came up with a marvelous game called Hand of the Hanatars. And then, of course, Fool's Down was the original because it's a poker game. It's kind of like Texas Hold'em and baseball and a bunch of other things if you're poker players, right? So anyway, we're excited to have the decks coming out. There's the 2-deck set that is on the black, and then, of course, this limited edition one. And that is all part of the Kickstarter. I'll talk a little bit more about the Kickstarter later when we kind of get to the end of the tour. What do you say, Camera Mandy?
So our internet is being a little slow because we are streaming currently. So we'll see if it loads.
Don't worry about it. Lots of people.
We'll see if it loads by the end. I do already have some other things preloaded though.
Yes.
So David has been putting up some awesome.
Yeah, what are these called?
I don't know. They're like image animations. They're super cool.
An image.
An image. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
But
I like
anyway,
it.
yeah, this was he put up a bunch of them, and there's some really funny ones and some good ones.
This one's definitely my favorite. Like the Gooey Cube is like so ominous in this, and this is something I don't know what he's using for this.
David is so good.
Yeah, no, it is awesome. But I also did load up some of his other ones here. Oh, look. Pamela has messaged me.
Pamela has messaged you and said?
She says that she is creating. Sorry, Pamela, if you didn't want this out here.
Oh,
yeah, it's not going to load.
Camera Mandy is like loading.
I know. I was like already. Okay, but it looks like she has a new hat for Black Bonnie. So.
Oh, yes, Black Bonnie. We're
going
to chat about that.
I love it.
Pamela, I guess we're going to talk about that pretty soon. So.
I love that. And Pamela also got this other amazing like blue hat. Like she is definitely a piratey lady. So here's another one. This is a writer. What is he writing up to here?
So this is one of the castles in the Boonderland, right?
Love it.
This is along the river, right? And so why did you have to put this one up, cameraman?
This is just the order in which they are coming up on my Facebook. So I love the hat. This is an excellent image.
Yes. As I said, I wonder what's in the pipe. That's what I was saying.
You're definitely smoking something from Colorado. This was the first one, the Vile Desolation, and like it's super creepy.
Well, so. We put nice music tones and sound effects and other things behind them, so it's really it's kind of experiential, when you watch them, as long as you check them out that way. And then he because he felt bad, David. Thank you, I appreciate this.
This one you remind me of. You remind me of Mad Eye Moody in this one. And this one of Casey is.
Yes, Casey got the backlight.
He's like the godly.
Yes, he got the little flowers and the sparklers and all that stuff.
Oh my gosh!
And I got the balloons.
Anyway, so David, we are loving these. Oh look, this is me.
Oh yeah, camera Mendy.
This is me like being hypnotic. Yeah, and like hypnotic. I'm like staring at you. Anyway, we're loving these. So I'm not sure. I don't know if this is like an app or if he's editing them in a program, but like they're super fun.
Yeah, very very cool. Thank you, David, for everybody really enjoyed them. We got a lot of likes. So So, and then of course somebody else tried to get in on the
Yeah,
action.
and
like this guy.
here's my chat with Pamela again. Okay, so this is Father Jiki.
Yes.
Getting jiki with it.
Yeah, getting cheeky with it. Yes, that's
Jigging.
right. So I don't know about getting cheeky, but Father Jiki's getting cheeky. So, I'm not getting cheeky very much. So we'll see what happens. But that was pretty funny, Geeky.
Yeah,
It made
it's
me
pretty
cackle.
good. And then I have one more thing off the web to show. Let me just transition over to this. So this is our TikTok, which
Yes.
thanks to Allie not Allie. Well, Allie, Abby, Allie, and Elle, the three of them. Yeah, they are actually like doing stuff on our TikTok, and
They're talking.
yeah, I don't know much about
I don't know
TikTok.
what that means. Right?
I do, yeah.
It's kind of like twitting. I don't know very much about twitting either.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a very interesting
So
subject.
if you like this platform, they are having a lot of fun. They're in the office, like doing really cool magical things. And I've been super impressed with what they've been coming up with. So if you happen to be on TikTok, find us on Gooey Cube and check out what they're doing over there because it's really cool.
Indeed, and do us a favor, y'all. If you're on the Twitch or or if you happen to watch these on the YouTube afterwards, right? Can you subscribe? Give us a little click on those buttons and give us a subscription because that helps us, right? So that'd be
Absolutely.
marvelous.
Yeah, if you do, we're like 6 people away from hitting 500 on YouTube. So if you want to make my Saturday even better, no.
Saturday better. Put on a fake account, right, and go in there and subscribe. Anyway, no, Elle and Abby and Allie, if you're involved in this madness too, yes, thank you for making TikTok kind of a thing for us now. It's very exciting.
Yes, we are getting into the TikTok space thanks to them. So, okay, so next up we have your reading.
So this has been a while since we did the reading, and Camera Mandy, of course, is going to amalgamate these, right? You're going to put them all together, Camera Mandy. That's the idea.
Now originally I thought that I was going to do them from our streams here, but I've actually decided to re-record them in studio with the better audio. I know.
You know what that means for me, yes.
Yes. And on that note, I'm just letting you guys know, in the next few weeks, we are upgrading both the stream, like all of our graphics and stuff, and we are upgrading the program we're using to do the stream because it'll make our lives so much easier, and Alphinius will be able to run his slideshows. We have a really cool program we're going to be bringing in. There's going to be a bit of a learning curve for me, but...
Sounds like a disaster.
It's not a disaster. It's going to be amazing, and everyone's going to love it. So anyway, so that's coming in the next few weeks here, and it's going to improve our audio quality. It's going to improve our graphic quality. It's going to be amazing. So
yes, Camera Mandy has busted the budget again. Yes,
it's worth it though to put on like a stream where I'm not like shrieking before it, like, oh my god, we only have another minute to go. I'm changing everything right now. That's how it sounds. So
that's pretty much how it sounds.
Sorry for anybody who's listening with headphones. So,
and by the way, how come you didn't put up a Baba Yaga? We have to do that next week because I was pretty proud of that. Sean came up with the line on Baba Yaga. Well, it's all right. It's on the Facebook. You'll see it.
Okay.
And then of course Zach put up something that I wanted you to put up this morning too. So we'll get that next week, right?
Okay, yeah, sounds good. I know if I was able to load anything, I would do it right now. But
it's all good.
But yeah,
It's all good.
So yeah, let's go ahead and do your reading though. We left off after the Return of Ruin.
Yes. So if we remember from the last chapter of the Ventenium Alunax, Galcianthros, who was one of the greatest mages ever in the history of the world, and certainly the greatest mage of his time, was getting old. And most of the methodologies that he'd been able to use to that point were sort of expended, the potions and things to extend his life. And so he realized that the only way that he could achieve a longer lifespan was to reach the 13th cycle, because Galcianthros did not wish to become an undead. He did not wish to transition to a lich. And so he went and established a tower in the southern area of Verdestia, some years before, of course, the War of Ruin. And he, of course, did terrible things after receiving certain tomes from certain individuals from the Underdelve. Yes. And then there was a terrible thing that happened. And that is the last little portion of the chapter that I will read from the previous. All right? Here we go. The surging of immeasurable, unbridled power immediately destroyed the Tower of Galcianthros and all that surrounded it for many miles. In the annums that followed, this place would become known as the Deathmire, for even today nothing can live in that corrupted land. But this was only the beginning. The destruction that was wrought upon the Eternic civilization was unimaginable. The edifices, towers, and citadels of the Empire on every continent were cast down in breathtaking calamity, their flying cities crashing to the ground, killing all who dwelt therein. Mountains quaked and belched forth fire, smoke, and brimstone that burned the great forests and blackened the sky. Huge waves of enormous height broke upon the shores of the continents, wreaking unfathomable destruction and killing all in their path. Great cracks appeared on the surface of Zyathé, swallowing cities and towns, as the entire planet shook and groaned in agony. Yes. And then what happened after that is that the magic of the world was corrupted again, because the crystalline barrier that were laid within the Zyathés cracked and spilled out. And at great risk to themselves, the three gods, Sha'ada, Infiarne, and Evoke, went into the Zyathés itself and separated the flow into three separate flows versus what it was before. And that is how they saved the Eterniverse. And the last line of that, the last paragraph of that section, which is the return of ruin, was this: their efforts, meaning the gods, were not in vain, but they also were not without cost. Each of the three gods was greatly maimed in the effort, and Evoke was nearly destroyed utterly. The separating of the Zyathés into three streams from one greatly reduced its power, and since that day none can wield spells beyond the 9th cycle. Most frightening of all, the three were unable to fully repair the crystal barrier that's encased the netherflow to keep its corrupting influence fully at bay. It was not enough, but it was all that they could do. Meanwhile, in the faraway nothingness of the Never Place, Anacria, the leader of the Lords of Corruption, looked upon the cracks in the walls of her prison and smiled. She knew that now it was just a matter of time. And the next chapter is called The Darkest Days. The horrific cataclysm that would come to be known as the Woe of Ruin destroyed the entire Eternic civilization, burying all they had created in great masses of rubble and ruin and death. With nowhere else to go, the remnants of the races fled into the outskirts of the now devastated lands to avoid the dark and tainted places where their great cities once stood. The last of the gnomish peoples sought refuge with the crown dwarves in the underground fortresses. Though many of the dwarvish folk had perished in the great earthquakes that shook Zyathé, they suffered much less than the other races, as they had abandoned the high magics that the Eterns employed. Thus, though many of their citadels were greatly damaged, they did not crumble, and the taint of the netherflow was not present in their domiciles. But even these places were not without peril, for in the years after that would follow, they would be set upon by the dark elven folk, the deeping dwarves and the dark gnomes, the dark maroon as well, and others from the far deep, who chose to come upward. The ocean-going maroon were devastated when the waves crested to immeasurable heights, but their undersea ships saved some few of their people, and they sought refuge on the islands and coastlands, where the destruction was lessened. The Sarth fled to an enormous valley on the continent of Zustrenia, where many clans of surface-dwelling demi-humans, which are also called hominids, are also now sequestered themselves. For countless annums they would have to fight with these adversaries to preserve their very existence. The humans and halfling folks fled to the places on the surface where the devastation was not as extreme, or places where the corruption had been washed away by the great waves. They would establish settlements in those places, but would fight almost daily with the hominid races and the monsters and others that roamed free across the lands. The Gurundish people who had long lived upon and within the mountain peaks never embraced the high magics, for they were wise beyond most other mortals. Though many of their clans perished in the shaking of the world, many also survived. Likewise, the nomadic Etherian folk had avoided the worst of the calamity, as their bent was to avoid the high magics as well. Though they had long abandoned the empire, the High Elves suffered the most when the world was set afire. In the intervening time since they had left the Etheric civilization, they had used the high magics to form great cities among the trees. These places were destroyed in minutes, when the awesome and terrible conflagration burned the great verdant towers to ash. Nearly all of their population was wiped out, and the few that remained would suffer war, plague, pestilence, and death in the years to follow. Their brethren, the Wood Elves, which are called the Verdea Hadreen, had instead long ago abandoned the high magics. As such, their forests burned, but not with such intensity that many were able to escape. These began the replanting of Zyathé almost immediately, and most of the great forests that exist today owe their beginnings to these people. The lesser races also suffered mightily in the cataclysm that rocked the world, but not nearly so much as the high races. As these peoples had all been banished by the Eterns to distant and harsh lands, or to the far depths of the Underdelve, they escaped some of the horrific destruction that befell those who lived in closer proximity to the wonders of the Eterns. And while many of their people still perished, these races actually benefited from not being associated with the Eternic civilization. That said, in the aftermath, all societies on the face of the world collapsed. Most of the populations of Zyathé were killed in the initial devastation, and in the annums that followed, nearly half of the survivors also perished. For nearly 100 years, the face of Zyathé remained shrouded and darkened. Tribes of races fought wars over scant food and water. And for a time, it seemed that all the races would be snuffed out. And that is the end of that chapter, with the next one being called The Corollary of Ruin.
You know,
I hope you all like these.
That was great. Yeah. You got a comment from Tiffany on Facebook that said you should do audiobooks.
Tiffany, Camera Mandy continues to try to convince me to do this. You know, you have to sit and read all the time. But thank you. I appreciate the compliment. She wants me to read all of the stuff we've published so far and all the things we're going to publish. That's like thousands of pages. It's freaking me out.
You're going to be great.
Well, Camera Mandy, what is next?
Next up is our 2-word.
All right.
So I'm actually going to start some music. This is the music from the Vile Desolation, but we didn't get to play it last week. So again, this is...
I'll try and make the whole thing with this area a little more sinister than Camera Mandy, so I support these marvelous musics, yes?
So everyone, just let us know. I'm going to start the music right now. Let us know if the audio is at a good level. We're going to go to the cover page, the Blackrot Bog.
Yes, the Blackrot Bog. So, as you all may know, and most of I think you do, that the Blackrot Bog and the environs around it are where the Red Star Rising campaign begins. Now, as to where it goes, that is a tale still in the telling. But for some time, our marvelous Hanatars will spend some time in this area. And a few sessions ago, before we took a little break so that we could do a Halloween special with our marvelous Alexander for the Vile Desolation, we spoke about a lot of stuff about the Blackrot Bog. And what I wanted to do today was to kind of delve a little deeper and give those of you who are game mastering some little ideas of things that you could do on your own, sort of outside of the Red Star Rising campaign, if you wanted to bring a few things to the table and you were maybe not so inspired yourself. So that's kind of a little bit what we're going to talk about. So anyway, Camera Mandy, let's go next, because I did what you asked me to do. You'll be very happy, I think. So this is the world map. So for all of you who don't know where Verdestia is that northwesterly continent that is broken in two. It's kind of split down the middle. And so there is East Verdestia, which is called the Essenverd, and there is West Verdestia, which is called the Westverd. The Westverd is where the campaign takes place. All right, Camera Mandy, how am I doing? Keep going.
Excellent.
This is the Westverd. And the Westverd, as you can see, is separated from the Essenverd. It did not used to be that way. There's much lore about that. and how the Woe of Ruin actually broke Vedestia in two. So there's much lore. Again, we're not going to delve into that too far because today we're talking about the Blackrot Bog and environs. So if we zoom in a little bit further on the left-hand side, the western side, sort of in the middle, right between the north and the south, where the mountains are sort of in the middle there, it's two. If we hit the next slide, Cameramandy, you see what is called the Republic of Zyathé. The Republic of Zyathé is sort of the beginning of the whole thing. This is where we started. This was the first map we ever drew, and it's an interesting place. With
I just made the music so loud. Sorry, guys.
You're killing people right now.
I really hope
you
that
said
didn't.
no more technical difficulties.
They said they couldn't hear the music. I tried testing it out beforehand.
Oh goodness gracious! Great balls of fire. Anyway, amateurs.
Guys, let me know if the audio mix is right for you guys. I really tried to do this before the show.
And don't forget, cameraman, if people got questions, please, you can ask right in the middle of it, interrupt, it's fine. I'll try to answer them as quickly as possible. So make sure you're keeping an eye on that.
The music might be too loud now.
We'll fix the doggone music.
Okay. I'm just going to leave it.
Touchy.
All right.
All right, there we go.
They say the volume sounds great. Okay.
All right, so this is the Republic of Zyathé. And the Republic is an amalgamation, if you will, of originally 9 sovereignties that came together to protect themselves against the incursions of Magdranog. And that has grown now with the addition of a couple of other places, Sundrun and Sundavulden and other things like that. Again, more lore that we will talk about later, not today. But one of the things, and just speaking as a game master now, really, just one of the things that I love about localities, right, is that not all of them be settled. Okay, this is something that I really believe, and there's a temptation to put like little towns and villages like everywhere, right? And part of that, I think, kind of ruins the experience of being in the wilderlands. And of course, if you think about the square miles of the Republic, it's absolutely enormous, right? And there's only about 3.5 million or so people that are actually living there. And so they're spread out, right? And they tend to be congregated in certain regions, and then other regions are very much, like some of the major national forests or national parks that are in the America, right? So this gives you an idea of what these wilderlands are like. And the reason that I love wilderlands is because you can travel across them and find all kinds of things that you wouldn't find in a city or town or village. And also, it doesn't always make sense to have a village like, just a mile away from like terrible calamity, right? So anyway, that is the Republic. And if you look in the middle of that map, you see that tower, that big stone mountain. And you can go ahead, cameraman, and zoom in one more time, because everything that happens in Blackrot Bog is around that stone mountain. But it is truly not a mountain, as many of you know. This was the flying city of Telsanthrod. And when the woe struck, it turned completely over and slowly crashed to the planet. And now it is a place of massive corruption. There is the leeching of corrupted magics that seep out of it at all times. And of course, most of these flying cities, I believe all of them actually, had the ability to conjure water, right? And they made their own water, literally. And Telsanthrod was no exception. And so now the water that was created for the people who lived there now comes pouring out, forming the Murkflow River, which flows down into Blackrot Bog to join the weird, what is it, cameraman? The other one there on the side, the
Warlock's Vale?
No, the other river. It's a
yes, Weird Water
the
River.
Weird Water. Goodness gracious, I apologize.
Is it Weird Water or Weirded Water?
No, there's no apostrophe.
Oh my gosh, no apostrophe. I think I might just faint. No.
So anyway, so that flows through the Fey-infested forests there, right? And so they join up. But the corruption from the Murk flow is what really has created all this consternation and strangeness that's going on in Blackrot Bog.
We have a good question.
Yes.
Does anything good or useful come from the corrupted mountain? Or is it all nasty stuff?
So this is a question that's being pondered a little bit right now, because you can use the corrupted magics. you can't really reach the 10th, 11th, and 12th cycles in the same ways that were in the past. But Crooksix sorcery, which is corrupted use of the corrupted magics, if you will, is a different method. And so as we're working on this Cyclopedia Magica, we're working on this Crooksix sorcery. And so there are very much consequences to using Crooksix sorcery. By the way, you notice that the reason that Responsia is called Crooks is because of Crooksix sorcery, right? Crooksix sorcery existed far and away before the War of Ruin. It was just more effective because you could tap the Netherflow a little easier until, of course, Avovar did what he did, right, which was to encase it. Then it was much more difficult. But anyway, when Responsia was destroyed, of course, it was destroyed by the corrupted magics, and that is why it is called Crooks today. In any case, so the question of are there anything that good come from it? As with most things, there are probably some good things, although I would argue that probably if anything is inherently bad in the world of Zyathé, it is the Netherflow. It is absolutely antithetical to everything that is going on in the creation, and in fact was born of the creation itself, but that's another tale for another time.
Can I ask you a question that is relevant, but a little not for the tuber necessarily? So if you're playing the Darkest Dream and you're playing these characters from the Hanatas, and you know some stuff because you know about the blood touch and you know all this other stuff, but how in depth do your players know about all of this backstory?
So it depends, I think, a lot on the game masters, right? You would definitely, as a person who's lived in the Republic your whole life, you would know much about the Republic. You would know much about other places that you travel as well. The Hanatas is a traveling troupe, so they go to Anvala, right? They may even slide around and go through the pass and head all the way over to the Leviathan Bay Nations and do carnivals in that area as well. And so you would learn these things from these other places. You would hear lore. And that is why what I tend to do a lot of times is before we even start playing at my table, right? We'll go outside and we'll sit down and we'll smoke a pipe and have an hour sort of where we just talk about lore. And we role play it. It's pretty fun. So, but it depends a lot on your game master. And some tables don't want to dig so deep into it, Cameramendi, but a lot of tables do. I think that it makes a more rich thing, it just makes it more enjoyable to have this kind of experience and understand what's going on in the world around you. Unequivocally, though, the Hanatas would know of Mu'uzdaran, the Murkflow River, and the corruption and all of that is going on in Blackrot Bog. All right?
Okay.
How'd I do? Mm-hmm.
Great answer. Okay. So next up.
Yes. So this is this just quick review, if you will, of part one. Just want to make sure that everybody is kind of caught up if you hadn't seen part one. It won't be very long. It'll be a little short. Let's go to the next slide, cameraman. So when we look at Blackrot Bog, you can see that Nevermore is on the far western side. That's really the last point of civilization, all the way until you get through the bog, across the King's Causeway, and find your way to, I believe it's Pronda Dol. You see that there, Cameramendi? And you can also go south to the city of Sundrun. And there will be a few villages. Once you start getting closer to those two places, there might be a few small villages and things like that. But for the most part, in this entire area, except for a few little settlements around the bog, which are very small, this is a wilderness. And that is marvelous because traveling across wilderness allows you to find all kinds of things. So in any case, let us continue to the next slide, cameraman. So as we talked about, Mu'uzdaran, here is a picture of it. This is the corruptor, if you will, of the entirety of the Blackrot Bog. Is that not marvelous, cameraman?
I love this art.
That is a turned over city of the Ithert. I mean, that is like spectacular. I remember when I got it the first time, and it just blew my mind. I hope you all love this. We spend way more on artwork than we probably should, but it's just so amazing. Anyway, continue, cameraman, please. So beneath Mu'uzdaran, there are many, many catacombs, and of course, some of the structures that turned when the place turned over. Some of those structures survived the crash. Now, filled with rubble, turned upside down, right? All kinds of stuff going on in there. But they have tried, the Republic in particular, to infiltrate Mu'uzdaran. They lost many soldiers, many battle mages, many battle priests. It They have also sent adventuring bands. And they have also, for the most part, those who have not were smart. They ran. Uzdaran is not a place to be trifled with. Not at all.
Does anyone else have goosebumps right now?
Goosebumps.
Also, the music's perfect right now.
It's the sinister, yes. Next, yes.
Woo!
Yes, because there are strange abominations. And this is what I want to understand. There's sort of three different sort of tiers, if you will, of things in the world of Zyathé. Unless you count animals, right? There's little animals like porcupines, right? They're kind of dangerous because they can stick you, right? And then there are sort of beasts, right? Like bears and other things like that, right? Then there are monsters, right? Then there's a line between sort of the beast and the monster, right? But then there is the fourth tier, and these are the abominations. And almost entirely, these abominations are created by the corrupted magics, and they are horrific. They are the next level, if you will, as I said earlier, of sort of encounters. And so down in Uzdaran, where the corrupted magics are the flow of them is just, it's everywhere. It is imminent, right? It's imminent, right? Preemptive, right? Well, preeminent, yes, that kind of thing. And so anything that survived that crash, anything that was there when it crashed and survived that crash, it's terrible, terrible things. That's a good image, right, cameraman? You can see yourself opening the door and suddenly, right, in front of you, and you know what I'm saying? Roll initiative.
You know what I love about it is the story behind the lore. It's like behind the image, like the story of this was a person who lived in this location. This was a person whose home was here. And they, because of this terrible thing that happened and through no fault of their own, have become this monster.
I have another thing that it could be.
What's that?
Perhaps one of the soldiers that was dispatched by the Republic. Perhaps one of the adventurers who did not return, yes? So this is the marvelousness of it, right? This is the wonderment of the corrupted magics and what they're doing, right? And that's why Zyathé is special in my mind, because this post-apocalyptic, non-technology world that is all post-apocalyptic magic, right, is fairly unique. It has not been done before, but it is certainly different than many, and that's what I really love about it, is just this idea, this aspect, and what it means, right? Foundational to the lore. Anyway, continue, cameraman. So this is the next thing that we all must make sure that we know about when we are talking about the Blackrot Bog and environs. This is the Witch Queen, Malvolana. Now, Malvolana appeared some decades back and basically said to the people of the Republic, you know, this area is mine. You aren't using it. I'm going to be here. And
I just love that attitude. I don't think so. This is my area. Back off.
That's basically what you said. Anyway, go to the next slide.
Okay.
So Malvolana basically moved into this Mistwood Hollows on the fringe of
okay,
so
like
bog.
right in here? Like, this area right here.
It's kind of in that area before the crossing, right? So if you see the crossing.
Right here?
No, you see the crossing, yes, the King's Crossing that goes across.
Yes, right here.
So it's kind of in that area to the west, to the northwest. And so she kind of established a territory in there, and then she said, I'm going to take some tolls. And at first, the Republic was not happy, right? And so they sent some contingents to entreat with her. She was intractable, and there was kind of some skirmishing, and then they sent more. And anyway, Malvolana ended up sort of kicking butt on a lot of these that were coming in there, right, into her domain. And so the Republic kind of gave in and said, okay, you can charge your tolls, but if you're going to charge your tolls, you got to help us protect the road. And so that's kind of what she did, even though she was not the nicest person in the world by any stretch of the imagination. She is a necromancer and has all kinds of creepiness.
I don't care. I love her.
So she also had some apprentices. And one of the apprentices, of course, some of you all will run into, right, when we are playing Chapter 1. Well, maybe not the apprentice, but maybe some evidence of that apprentice. Go ahead to the next slide, Cameraman. So Malvolana, by all accounts, was beautiful and also very wise, very smart. This is why she was able to sort of go against the Republic and prevail. And is that not a marvelous picture?
Yes, I feel a strong connection to her. I just feel like we might be soul sisters.
So this is what happened here at our agency. Camera Mandy came in, and now she does this demand for more money for whatever her various things that she wants to do.
Also, if you see the number of studios that we have, it is like the entire back half.
Yes,
I do take up a lot of real estate.
And you know this, right? If you're in Colorado Springs, you just give us a little notice, and we would love to see you. In fact, we'd love to try to, if it works out, have lunch with you and say hey and take some pictures. And we've had a lot of people stop by, and we love it. So do that. Anyway, this is our marvelous Marvelana. And she is definitely not a protagonist in any way, shape, or form. She is an antagonist, and she is gone.
I think it just depends on what perspective you're looking at it from.
I guess that's true. In her mind, she was being cool, right? She was like, this is my place, and I'm all right, I'll watch the road, right? Pay me a little money, and life is good. Anyway, let us continue. So,
side note, we got up to 500 subs on YouTube.
Nice. Thank you, friends. You are marvelous. That is wonderful. All right, let us continue. So Marvelana was extraordinarily capable at raising walkers and other sorts of creatures. And this is part of what helped her to be able to have her success. Now, some believe that she actually, in some ways, tapped Croxic sorcery. But these are all rumors that people do not know. So as I said, she had a number of apprentices, and one of them most well-known was Vodrud. So let us continue to the next slide, cameraman. And she, along with her apprentices, built a tower in the Mistwood. And this tower is actually a marvelous subject in chapter 3 of our campaign.
I was like, don't spoil too much because I have run into this tower as a player.
I won't, I promise. I'm not spoiling.
But now I know some backstory, and I'm just like, ooh.
And James and James, with a little bit of help from yours truly, but mostly them right now, they're really pushing because I'm really working hard on the Essenberg, right? Are crafting a little tale about this tower that in the timeline of things happens after chapter 3. So it is one of our side quests, and it is called The Witch's Wrath. And I'm very excited for us to get that published. It will be a little while yet, but it is coming. We have a lot of the artwork done. We have more coming, but it's basically a revisit of chapter 3, which if you've ever kind of done a revisit for your players, you're going to blow their minds because they're going to come back to a place where they had all kinds of experiences, and they're going to see that that place is considerably different now that they have returned. So that is The Witch's Wrath, and it is coming. Next slide, cameraman.
I just want to say, you guys can't see me, but I have like a huge smile on my face. As a player, I have like a huge smile on my face.
I'm telling you, this is, the work, the effort to go in to really try. Oh goodness gracious! Now I made a mistake, cameraman.
Did you just spill your coffee?
No, it's okay. I have the touch. I was going to lose my notes on this, and it would have been terrible. But I did not, because I have the touch thing, because I have that computer that you touch, and I don't have to type in the password. Anyway, so this is the Mistwood Hollows. So we just talked about the areas, sort of there's the bog, there's the Mistwood, right? These are the primary areas that are there, right? And so, go ahead, camera Mandy, the next slide. So you can see south and pushing a little bit to that westerly area of the bog. It doesn't cover the whole thing on that that southern, and it's even a little bit on the far fringe of the west, is the Mistwood Hollows. And the Mistwood Hollows is a fairly substantial forest that is a little creepy. Part of that probably because of Marvelana, and part of that also because the Unseelie that are there are quite dominant. And so when you go ahead, camera Mandy, when you next slide if you would. So when you go there, it has this marvelous feeling of this kind of oppression, right? But it still has some Fey aspects to it, which is kind of wonderful. It's just dark Fey, right? So it's got this feeling so camera Mandy's music is probably perfect right now. Right?
It is perfect.
So you encounter these Unseelies, and you encounter other sort of things that are in the area that maybe came from Marvelana, and then of course there's corrupted things that are coming out of the bog, and they go into the Mistwood, and it really makes for a marvelous little stew, if you will, of tale and lore. Go ahead, camera Mandy, let's do the next one. So the Unseelie, of course, we talked about them quite at length in part 1, so I don't want to go too much into that. But the Unseelie here are very much dominating, and they will mess with you if you go into their dominion. And so part of the aspects of the Mistwood Hollows is, of course, the unseelie, and that's part of, as your game mastering, you want to bring those marvelous individuals to the fray, right? And if I might suggest, they don't always have to be fighting, right? There can be conversations and tricks and all kinds of things that you can do with a bunch of unseelie fairy that don't necessarily mean your players have to just drag out their swords and kill them all the time or be killed by them all the time, right? So, the marvelousness of the unseelie fairy is that there can be a lot of things that you can do with them. They're very open to opportunity. All right, next one, cameraman.
And I'm just going to say, as like a player, it is, and I mean, if you're GMing a game, it is so much more fun if you let people try and figure out a way to negotiate with your NPCs.
Yes, of course. And why would you always want to fight, right? Now, there's times when it's inevitable,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
But it is kind of interesting to see, because you never know. You might make a friend. Who knows?
Yes.
You might make a worse enemy. Mm-hmm. Ha-ha! Next one, cameraman. Yes.
Speaking of fighting, I would 100% say do not negotiate with this thing.
So Zane, Marvelous Zane, submitted a monster a while back. I've shown these once before, but I wanted to show them again. These are Abysmus. And the Abysmus...
We have a comment that just says, cheese!
Yeah, you're going to cheese your face. That's what So these fly in flocks, and they are found in the Mistwood Hollows and in the bog. And they do feed, obviously, on lots of different things, including adventurers, right? So the Abysmus is marvelous, and of course, next year our goal is to do another Kickstarter, and as part of that Kickstarter, we want to do the Cyclopedia Monstrica for Verdestia. So I hope everybody's excited about that. I am. We have done a ton of monsters already. We've done the artwork for them, and paid for that artwork, and all of that stuff, and based on monster submissions that you have made. And so what we're trying to do is to make Verdestia have its own sort of feel of monsters. And then when we move to the other continents, they will also have their own feel of the monsters. Not necessarily so based on European mythology, but perhaps on African or Egyptian mythology, or perhaps on Central and South American mythology, or perhaps more on Far Eastern mythology, or even Near Eastern mythology, right? So we'll bring that to that feel to the table, right? And this was the experiment that we began with the Sundestia. In any case, let us continue.
I just have a side note on this, because I've looked at this image a lot, and I just noticed that there is one whisker that is just protruding right out of the nose hole.
Well, sometimes you got a whisker in your nose. That's probably why he's so grouchy, right?
I know, he can't get that thing out.
Anyway, continue.
Okay.
So, of course, the one of the most marvelous creatures in the world of these TTRPGs, these fantasy TTRPGs, is the owlbear. And this was an image done by one of our artists, TJ, and I really, really like it. And I actually snatched it out of one of the adventures. I won't say which because I don't want to spoil. But it is really a wonderful image. And of course, they are very present in the Mistwood. And so another thing for you to be able to experience, encounter, and bring to the table for your players. This one you're probably not going to negotiate with. No, it's
I was actually literally just typing in the comments, are you ever able to negotiate with an
owlbear? If you are a druid, I don't know. It depends on your game master. Does your game master consider this a monster or an animal, right? Because that's where sort of the line gets drawn, with these druids, at least in
Because I will say, I've fought them before, and it makes me sad to have to kill them a little bit.
But they're trying to eat you.
I understand, but still, they're just magnificent looking.
You could just lay down and let them have you for lunch.
Oh, no. If it's me or them, it's going to be them.
Onward. So, in the I got to check my notes here and make sure I do this correctly. But in this area, right, of the Blackrot bog, as you move the environs of the Blackrot bog, there is a location, and this is one that I've done at my table. This is called the Dragden Ruins, and the Dragden Ruins is a town that was here some time back and was abandoned. But there is a cemetery there is a chapel there is a town hall, and there are other things. And the reason you will find out why it was abandoned is because of corruption that was there. And if you want to go to the next slide, cameraman, and there are some creatures here that are called Horrocks. And Horrocks is a creature of my creation, and they are sort of these disembodied heads of sort of spiritual creatures, right? And they can do really nasty things to you. And so people tend to avoid the Dragman ruins, but there is whispers that there was something hidden there. Very important thing that was hidden there. And so adventurers do come to this place trying to discover that hidden thing. But this is a tale for another time.
Do they know that it's what the thing is, or do they just know that it's important?
There is some whispers that it could be some power. And so this rumor, along with the rumor that most of the people there were died without taking their treasures with them when they abandoned, this tends to bring adventurers to the fray. And some have even said, those who have been there, that there is a complex beneath it, beneath the ruins. Yes, that is a tale still in the telling at your table.
Is this a corporeal head?
It is non-corporeal, and it you'll see it when we do the Cyclopedia Monstrica. I think you will enjoy these. They are marvelous. They are interesting, and you can even negotiate with some of them, Camera Mandy. Ha-ha!
Nice. Okay.
Now, of course, because of the Unseelie, there's a number of members of the court, if you will, right? There are boggins and flog boggins and guinea finks and all of these different things. But the Unseelie also sort of make these constructs called Bogemen. And the Bogemen are not really living, if you will, though they use parts of formerly living peoples, right, as part of their construction and their creation. And the Bogemen are very feared, right, because they have rudimentary intelligence, so they can actually be ordered and told to do things and all of that kind of stuff. And so you don't want to run into a group of these in the middle of the forest, especially if the Seelie have put them out there with the intent to guard the forest on their behalf. Excuse me, the Unseelie. Continue, Camera Mandy.
So would the spirits of the person who had inhabited that body ahead of time be in the bogeyman?
So this is not really a topic for significant discussion, but I would say that it's quite possible that they are trapped there. Yes, indeed. Yes, it's a terrible thing, honestly. Anyway, okay. So now the bog itself. So let's talk about the bog itself and some places that you might be able to take your players, a little side trek if you are so inclined. Go ahead, Camera Mandy. So when you look at the bog, you can see there, right, that it stretches all the way out there to that westerly portions right there, which is where the murk flow comes in, and you can see the weird water coming in there too, and they mix and intermingle and create this big bog. And then of course you can see the land rises up beyond there to those cliffs, right? So that's part of the reason why the bog is formed, is because that rise kind of made that valley there, and that's sort of where the waters began to congregate. Now, of course, eventually they spill out and go out into the ocean, which you can see. But the bog itself is a pretty creepy place. There are supposedly ruins within the bog that date back well before the Woe. Not necessarily just Ethnic ruins, but ruins from potentially Vidoglin or even the Aerith of Dreen or others that are in the history if you read the Westford. Continue on, Cameraman.
I have two
Oh
things.
yeah, please.
First off, Kaya, this is more of an observation, just posted something. I think it's Kaya. Kaiminor.
No, Kaiminor is Christina.
It's Christina. I'm sorry, Christina.
Aha!
Okay. She said, rumors only exist to feed monsters. And I think that is such an excellent idea.
Poignant line.
I'm just saying, like, if you were a necromancer or if you were whoever created these monsters, like, put out rumors.
Of course, you want to attract adventurers and steal their stuff.
That is such an interesting idea. Okay. And then also, how many Cyclopedia Monstricas will there be?
So it depends on how it really depends on how we do, y'all, because if people keep being enthusiastic and keep wanting to support what we're doing and want to make more monsters, there'll be at least 4, right? That's the minimum goal for me, right? I really would like one for Verdestia, for Astrenia, for Zustrenia, and for Sundestia. But it would be wonderful to do one for the Poles, with the Waroos and these other marvelous creatures that live sort of in these cold environs. I'd love to do one for Nodruka. I think Nodruka is very underserved right now in terms of what it could be, and I'm excited to see what happens with that. And then, of course, if we really get there, which I hope we will, crooks, because that will be the Monster Corrupticus, right? That will be the full thing with all of the terrible abominations that exist upon the face of Zyathé. So,
Donut was already there. Donut had already commented, and for crooks. So I'm guessing that there's a big
yes,
push.
there's also a little continent called Zin, which is called Mysterious Zin, because folks do not go there, and there are reasons. But that's a tale for another telling as well. All right, cameraman, the next slide. So when you get the bog, right, you want to get the feel of this bog, right? It's stinky and foggy, and that's a mire, right, and all that stuff. I like bogs, by the way, so you'll find a few bogs around here and there.
The word bogs is just fun to say.
It is bog. Yes, it's way better than swamp. Although swamp is not bad. Continue on, cameraman. So in these bogs and these mires, especially as you get to less, more watery and less cold, right? And the Blackrot is very interesting because the Blackrot has these magics that come in there and actually keep it warm for most of the year, naturally warm. And so it's hard to get ice on the surface of it. Now, snow can land and be in the trees and all that kind of stuff, but it's hard for it to land. So things like giant catfish, right? This is a huge cat, right? That'll bite your face, and catigators and crocofrogs and all these other wonderful creatures that are coming out as we make the things. They are all there. Continue on, cameraman. There are also Seelie and Unseelie that are maybe not necessarily always members of courts, because all of them do not necessarily always stay in the court. Sometimes they don't want to be in the court. They get banished, all kinds of stuff. This is a water nymph, and I really love this image. I think it is a beautiful image, and we did some work on it with Photoshop, and it was actually originally a photo, and it's just, I think it's really, really wonderful. So, and of course, these water nymphs can be nice, or they can be not so nice. Yes, especially if you're in the bog. You're a stinky water nymph.
So what we're saying is, you could try and negotiate.
You could try and negotiate, yes. I wonder if she has friends. Continue on. Now, this is a one of the shacks, if you want to call them that. So in the bog, there are little places of settlement. Sometimes they are literally just one or two buildings. And these bog people are typically refugees. They have escaped from other places. And of course, in chapter 4, you might find out a little bit about this, right? But as you're going through the bog, when you get to go to these shacks, if you think about it as a game master, there's so many things you could bring to the table as you're going through this bog. There are ruins, there are lizard folk, there are all these creatures and wonderful things, right? And you can bring this all to the table. And we kind of give you a wonderful flavoring of that in the beginning of chapter 4. So continue on, cameraman. So there are walkers also that you could run into, right? Depending because of Malvolana, right? So you're in the bog and you have the walkers coming at you, right? That are from the bog, so they already smelled bad enough, right? Now they smell worse, right? So these creatures are there. There's just, for your imagination, as you begin to think about all the different things you could do in this area for side quests and all of that stuff. Continue on, cameraman. This is a locality from my youth, or my, what do you call it? My long ago game, and this is called the Bloody Dao. And the Bloody Dao is a section in the bog. You can place it wherever you want, where this strange sort of substance comes leaching out of the mud, and it is colored of blood, and it is toxic, and it is very strange, and it is very dangerous. And there are creatures there. Go ahead, cameraman. Let's look at this next thing right here, so we can see what's happening right there. So I lost my my notes, but that's all right. It doesn't matter. I can remember most of this stuff anyway. So these are called Blue Udak. And the Blue Udak is another creature of our making here, right? And the Blue Udak is actually pretty found really only in these areas of this strange phenomenon. And this strange phenomenon does occur in the Vile Desolation. It occurs in other places. And there is some question as to these Blue Udak, as to whether they are actually living creatures or whether they are sort of some kind of manifestation of undead or whatever, because they are savage. And so there is no communicating with them. You either kill them or they kill you, or you capture them and then they try to kill you while you have them strapped down to a table, right? That's this claw and scream a bite. But I love them. I think they are marvelous. I think you are going to love the Blue de Oak. And I think you might like the little bit of the lore of these places where this strange mud comes to the surface. In this case, of course, at the bog called Bloody Dao.
I just have to give a shout out to the playlist, again by D20 Sounds, because literally the music changed songs, and it was a horror shriek. It was that very sharp horror, and it's just excellent. I did not plan that. That's just the playlist. Okay.
Nice.
Anyway.
Continue. So also in this area, there is rumored to be a cavern beneath sort of the edge of the bog that might actually run deeper towards the Underdelve, right, the Zion Dune, and beyond that, the Far Deep. And it is called Dark Whisper Cavern. And Dark Whisper Cavern is a wonderful place that I played with at my table quite a bit, and it has a lot of little things going on in there. It has some interesting dwarven ruins. It has some gnomish ruins. It has some stuff from the Far Deep that is quite interesting. And it also has Andrala. Go ahead, cameraman. Andrala is a...
Hold on.
Oh yeah, you got me. I'm all covering her over.
I have a fix for this. Just give me a second.
Oh, there is a fix. Yes, you can see Andrala. She's come on. Yes, marvelous, cameraman. So Andrala is a banshee. Yes, but as you know, if you've been watching what we've been doing around here, Marvelous Jim actually went really hard at the Fey lore that comes out of sort of the Emerald Isles and Germany and all of this kind of stuff, and sort of came up with the more accurate depiction of sort of the banshee, because there's actually 3 different kinds of them, and you'll find all about this in the new Monstra Cyclopedia Monstra for the Verdestian continent. But she is marvelous. She's danced around with my players quite a bit. She's mobile and she can be quite frustrating, which of course is a marvelous thing, right? Because you want to not always have your players always just win easy, right? You want to give them challenges and all of that kind of stuff. So anyway, that is the end of the tour, and I hope you enjoyed these little secret lores that came from sort of my home table and all of that stuff. And now what are we going to do, Camera Mandy?
First, I'm just going to show...
Oh, you were going to shout it, yes.
Okay, so Martin is the one who provided the soundtrack for this. He is awesome, and his soundscapes are available, and they're long. Like this current one that we're listening to is 7 minutes long, so they're very easy to put at your table and really create the mood.
All right. And what's next?
Your Kickstarter update.
All right, so I'm going to do this fast, and we're going to be done. I know it's a little late, but not bad. I'm doing pretty good. I'm really trying, Camera Mandy. You know that, right? Mm-hmm. So in the Kickstarter update, here is where we are. This last week, we printed Strangely Gooey Holidays. So those are being packaged up, and right after that, we're going to be printing the Menace in the Mist. So we're going to have both of those printed. We are, of course, as most of you know, because you've been paying attention, we've sent all the decks of Perilous Fortuity out for them to be produced as well. The Essenverd is in, I think we're nearing page 180 or 190 in the layout of that. And the rest of the manuscript is still being polished a little bit at the end, but we're getting close on that. The maps are all done except for 2 of them, and we'll send those out to print next week for the Essenverd package, so the Essenverd tome and the Essenverd map pack. And it's honestly going to be very close to the same size as West Verdestia was. And so I know that's bigger than we said it would be by 100 pages, but it really called for it. And again, I've said this before, we're not going to skimp on quality. We're not, even if we told you it was going to be 250 pages, if it needs to be 350 pages, because that's what it needs to be to make it great, that's what it's going to be. Okay, so we're very excited about that. We've got the lot of the stretch goals being produced, the special item card packs, the scenescapes. Camera Mandy, the scenescapes. Yes, Camera Mandy.
Yeah.
How many have you done? Yes, you've done 15 or so, 20 of them?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, and so we're going to have a good section of them done. They're not all going to be, there's ones that we have to flesh, some of the themes we have to kind of flesh out a little bit, like the Darkenhaven.
So there's a few more stuff we got to
gloom
talk
part.
about,
Sorry,
right?
it was the gloom part. Yeah. So some of them won't. The themes won't be quite done, but we're going to have a lot. And there's a lot of just what I love is like I call them travel or scenes around Zyathé. So like when we started the stream this morning, we put up the Jade Mountain one, and that's in the East
Estrenia, yes.
Yeah.
Estrenia, yes.
And there's, to me, I hope that we get to make a lot more of these. I hope we have hundreds of them at some point, because they really, to me, getting to learn about all these different places, it's like a very special way to kind of experience Zyathé.
Yes, and those are on the website. We can't download them because of licensing reasons for the music. So we can only provision them off of the website. But we have a player and all that stuff that's going to work just fine, right, Camera Mendy?
Yeah, and they're done in 4K. So if you want to put them up on your TV, you should be able to. They should be really good quality. And I'm very happy with how I'm having a lot of fun getting to do them.
And just Camera Mendy has worked really, really hard on these to make them good and spend a lot of her time. And Camera Mendy, thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah. With that said, if there's like some weird things that you guys notice that I won't notice, like because there's all these little different animations,
subliminal things underneath,
no,
right? Weird faces. Yes.
There was one where I did a windmill and I showed it to my husband, and he was like, "That windmill is going way too fast for how the wind is blowing." And I was like, "Okay, if there's things like that, please feel free to message me. I'd love to fix them and get them re-uploaded." So yeah, I'm not too proud to say that I'm not going to be perfect with how all of the wind will work in all of the scenescapes. So yeah.
Well, it's wonderful. So we are still rolling on the Cyclopedia Magica. I expect to see the manuscript pretty much here done in the next couple of weeks. Then we go to layout on that. Chapter 5 is in process, but we are we're not just not gonna make it in December. I wanted to. I think I mentioned that in the last update. We're just not gonna make it. Legends, Lore, and Libations is I'm supposed to see the manuscript draft on that towards Thanksgiving, and then we'll get started on laying that one out. And we're just going to ship as much as we can ship around that 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th of December. And we're doing an interim shipment, obviously, for the domestic people. So whatever we got at that time, you're going to get it. We expect we'll have the Decks of Perilous Fortuity. We expect we'll have 2 side quest adventures. We expect that we'll have the Essenverd map pack, Harry's STL files, Camera Mandy's wonderful scenescapes. We'll have the magic item cards. There's some other things, artworks and other things like that are all in that package, which we will send out. And then for our friends in Europe, yes, we are, and Australia and Canada and all the other places out there that charge all this ridiculous amounts of money for shipping to you, we're going to do an interim shipment for you. So somewhere in that December timeframe, in that 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th timeframe, we're going to ship to you, and we're excited to do that. That is at our cost. That's no effect to you. And so hopefully most of it will get there by Christmas. And if not, then you're going to have a marvelous January. You have Christmas in January, or Christmas in January, or Kwanzaa in January, or Hanukkah in January, or whatever you sort of celebrate, right? So I'm very pleased with the materials. We're putting more artwork into the Essenverd than we did in the Westverd. And actually, I might add some images to the Westverd. I was so afraid because it was getting so big that I pulled a few pieces of artwork that I really wanted to include. So we might have another round on that. And the limited edition books are also in process. We're getting those done. So those of you who wanted to get sort of a special, very limited edition that's signed and all that kind of stuff, those will be coming available here pretty soon. And some of you got those in the Kickstarter. So that's kind of what's going on, and I hope you're pleased. Any questions, Camera Mendy?
The only question, I have a couple questions, and I answered one of them in the chat. The Scenescapes will be hosted on gooeycube.com. They will be in a password protected area of the website. Yes. And I'm going to post a few of them here and there, like I did, or stream a few of them, for the show, so people get to see some of them. But they're Kickstarter exclusive for now.
Nice. Yeah. Yes. And it was only for if you were part of that, right? You can get access to these things in the future. There's probably some kind of subscription that will be required for people, unless of course we include them in the next Kickstarter, which we probably will for people who haven't had a chance to do that, because we really want to give people value. This is our goal, right? So,
absolutely. And a lot of this is just a lot of it is because of the licensing of the music.
Correct.
So
it would cost so much money for us to actually be able to allow you to download,
to distribute them.
It would be ludicrous amounts of money. So this is the way we can do this and not be in a position where we're violating anybody's anybody's rights, and would never want to do that. We have great respect for artists here and great respect for our creators. So,
Absolutely.
all right. The last thing is the contributors thing, right? And don't forget about the Writers Guild, 9 o'clock on Saturday mornings. They meet right before Goo Morning, Zyathé. Fun little group. They can always tell you about contributions and what's going on. And if you're not a member of the Contributors Guild, think about it, because you can actually make something and put it into the world of Zyathé, a monster, a location, NPC, a strange locality that is like a shop or something like that in the city, right? There's all these things that we are doing, and they are actually being published. So right now we are just finishing up the contribution for the Gloomport. It's an interesting location in the Gloomport, and we have a few more days. I think Gail is shutting it down on the 15th. So make sure that if you're finishing that off, finish it off, get it done and get it in. And of course, we give a reward for every one of those. It's typically worth between $15 and $20. And all we ask from you is less than a page of content. So it's a pretty good deal, right? You get a nice little reward that's got good value, and you give something that you can put into the world. And so,
yeah, I think that it's a really so when I was at Gamehole Con, I was talking to a lot of people about the Contributors Guild, and that's part of what makes our stuff so special, is that it's a huge group of people bringing their different world experiences, their different perspectives, and different ideas. And like some of the stuff that's published is ideas that people had years and years and years ago. And it's just a really incredible special
Cameron
thing.
Mandy, I am so excited because we're doing this artwork. You saw that. We'll probably put that up next week because we'll probably have a draft of it. We're taking some of our portraited people, right? And we've put them into some artworks already, right? So we need to show, next week we need to show Captain Catway and Marvelous Grayson and Sean's, the first mate. I can't remember. I'm sorry, off the top of my head.
Is this the one where they're all in the pub and it's like, I want to go?
They're on a ship.
Oh, they're in a ship?
Yeah, you haven't seen that.
Oh my gosh.
But then there's in the pub, we have Teok and Falcon, and of course Matt and Daniel are in there too. It's really, it's wonderful. This is my goal in the long term for us, is these portraited NPCs are going to start taking more and more of a role in our world, as it began with frankly with Francis and with Jacob and Natalia. And that was, I think Francis was in chapter 2, and I think Jacob and Natalia were in chapter 2. I can't remember, but they were the first ever that we put into the materials. But when you get Darkenhaven, there's going to be a bunch of portraits in there that are our people, and I am very excited about that. That is something special. All right.
We have one more question. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Are there new Gooey reward cards to add to the original deck?
So yes, there are new Gooey rewards that will be in the next box, chapter 5, and they are, there were some new ones that we put in chapter 4 as well. Now we do also use some of the existing ones because some augmenting your decks and those kinds of things are kind of nice. But we will continue to add special Gooey rewards cards into the decks with every chapter that we do. All right. And then I know some people have asked, could we please do a special item card deck supplement? And we're looking at doing that. Could we do a Gooey Rewards deck supplement? And we're looking at doing that. So, but really the priority is the Kickstarter, my friends. We're late, and I apologize for that.
But just know that it's not from lack of trying. Trust me, Alphinius and our whole crew is busting their butts trying to get the stuff out to you.
And some of our friends in the
group. Oh, yeah, that's what. Yeah, I was including them in in the group. Like, listen, what they're doing is hard, and they want good quality and good writing, and sometimes you get blocked, and you need a second to take a deep breath and get some sleep. I think if Alphinius, if he could, he'd just never sleep.
3 hours last night was good.
Okay, yeah.
Because Cameraman has me make these slideshows now, right? So I have to and I don't want him to be, not good. So I stayed up a little late. But that's because I'm also a fan of basketball. So I came home from a little birthday party. And
I see how it is. You went to a birthday party and watched basketball. You are not allowed to have a personal life. No, I'm just kidding. Of course you are. Of course you are. And so, but I just know that I know that they're working really hard. And so we're definitely not like the Kickstarter people who are not going to fulfill. We're going to definitely fulfill.
It's coming, my friend. Yeah. Life is on my life. You want to get your stuff.
They are working so hard.
Did you all see Cameron, did you see the Darkenhaven map all put together? Did you get to see?
Yeah, it is awesome. We should definitely revisit Darkenhaven.
Well, yeah, we will. When we're getting closer on the box, because what I want to start doing is, now that we've sort of gotten people grounded in the Westford and given them, I think, some good stuff with the Vow Distillation, I want to do Magdranog, okay? And I want to do the Netherland. But as soon as we sort of get done with sort of those areas, a little bit of Anvala and that kind of stuff, I want to move to the Essenverd and start doing some tours there. So I think, listen, y'all, I hope this is good. This is what a lot of people ask for. I hope you're enjoying it. And really, I really want to say this to you. If you think we could be doing something better, will you message me or message Camera Mandy? If you've got ideas of things that we can add, we'd love to hear from you, right? This is, this is our community. And that's another thing. Thank you all for being so joyous and fun and just a delight for me. I mean, I laugh every day when I go on that Gooey Den or if I happen to poke in the Discord and somebody's put up a whole bunch of information about their last game that they played, and it puts a smile on my face. Thank you very much for all of that. Camera Mandy, I'm going to sign us out, right? Is that okay with you?
I think this is a perfect time to do that.
All right, my friends. Thank you for joining us today. May all your adventures be sticky. Ha ha!